Hi everyone, we've made a discovery about a species of fish swimming in big numbers in a lake in northeastern Mississippi that most anglers have no clue about. We're going to explore it, exploit it, and reveal it to you in the next half hour. Glad you're with us. Let's Fish TV is on the air right now. That is a fish. Oh man, look at this.
It's time for the only program that brings you real-time fishing reports from the Southwest region every week.
Oh my gosh. Oh, look at that. Woo!
This is Let's Fish.
Hi everyone, I'm so glad you joined us for this week's episode. If you're a regular fan of our show, you may have seen an episode last year where my co-anchor Crispin Pally went fishing at Bay Springs Lake in Mississippi in search of spotted bass and largemouth bass, and they caught some good ones. Well, on this week's show, we're going back to that same lake, but we're going after a completely different species of fish. So I'd like to welcome you in to beautiful Bay Springs Lake. It's located just outside Belmont, Mississippi, in the far northeastern corner of the state. It's on the 10 Tom waterway, and we're going to be talking much more about that in the next half hour. While I'm out fishing for crappie, we're going to be doing it out of our brand new Blazer 650 Pro Tour fishing boat. This thing is a beautiful machine. It's got my Mercury Pro XS 4-stroke outboard hanging on the back, my Motor Guide Tour Pro trolling motor on the front, all the good electronics, a big giant casting deck with lots of storage underneath it. It's a high, dry, and stable ride. I love this boat. While we're out fishing, we're going to be taking you around your local region for this week's fishing reports from our expert team of insider reporters, both freshwater and saltwater, from water bodies right where you live. So, right now we get the Blazer down the boat ramp and into Bay Springs Lake in Mississippi. Next time you see me, I'll be out there crappie fishing. Let's get things started back at the studio in your weekend planner.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining us. These Salooner tables are predicting fair game fish activity both days this weekend. Look for peak game fish activity to begin early morning before the sunrise at 2:39 on Saturday and 3:18 Sunday. The best daytime action will begin at 3:04 on Saturday and 3:43 on Sunday afternoon. Depending on your area, expect the sun to rise around 7:19 and set around 7:21. This weekend will display a moon that is 82% visible. Stick around, we've got fishing reports from across the area on the way, plus Bassmaster Elite Angler Paul Mueller will be here when we return to answer this week's Ask the Pro question. Stay with us.
Let's Fish TV is proudly backed by Lose. Feel the difference. Waypoint Customs. Customize your boat your way. Strike King. Tie one on. Glacier Glove. Stay outdoors longer with our gloves, hats, and shades. Fishing Specialties. Makers of the premier mount assembly for live sonar.
All right. There's another Bay Springs crappie for you there. Oh yeah. There's another one. Got another one. There we go. All right. Well, we've got a little something working. Those aren't big crappie by any stretch, but welcome back everybody to Bay Springs Lake in Mississippi, Mississippi sleeper crappie lake. Let me tell you that Sardis, Enid, Grenada, Washington, Eagle, all of those lakes get all the publicity in Mississippi for their crappie populations, and that's where you catch the huge crappie, the ones that Mississippi's famous for, those magnolia crappie. Bay Springs, I mentioned, is a completely different animal, but it's in a good way in that it's got a bigger population of more crappie. There's more fish in here. They're not as big as those big 3-pound giants that grow over there around Grenada up and down I-55. But as far as just numbers of crappie, I was talking to Larry Pugh and he said the population in here is just phenomenal. There's a lot of fish from 1 pound to 1.5 pounds. Good solid keeper crappie. In fact, I was talking to Ricky Houston and his son Andy, who fish here all the time, and they said really on a normal trip they'll catch their limit of 30 crappie, which it's a very generous limit here in Mississippi, and they'll have very few under the legal keeper size of, I think it's 10 inches, but they said they catch very few under 12 inches. So about a 12-inch crappie is a normal crappie. That was probably 11 inches, something like that. So more crappie, not as big, much more plentiful, and a lot more finicky. You've got to do things a little different. In Grenada and Enid and Sardis, you just go along that shallow water and dabble that brush. You catch them, or sometimes you can pull long lines or spider rig. But here, you've got to fish man-made brush piles, and you've just got to idle around and find them, and we'll talk more about that. But got a good start, got a good day going, beautiful weather here in beautiful Mississippi, the crappie state. Wow, I can see these crappie swimming all around my bait down there. So hard to make one bite today. The sun's gotten real bright. There he is. He got it. There we go. Feels like a good one too. Come up, come up. Don't jump though. Oh yeah, that's a good crappie. He's getting my net. Got him. All right, there's another Bay Springs crappie for you there. Oh yeah. All right, well, we're still fishing on the 10-tom waterway today. And I wanted to mention something else about this whole water system here. That's just a good average size crappie there. As I mentioned at the outset, it runs 234 miles. Bay Springs is not the only body of water that's got good fishing in it. On downstream from here through the locks and dams, you've got several other pools. You've got Beaver Lake, got Pool B, Aberdeen, Columbus, and some other smaller ones, and they've all got their own good fishing story. Bass, catfish, crappie, some white bass action. There's just a lot of good fishing up and down the entire 10-tom waterway here, beginning right here at Bay Springs. So we'll give you some information at the end of the show on the Visit Mississippi website if you'd like to get some travel information. We're traveling all over this state, but man, they have got some crappie fishing going on. You do what you have to do to catch fish. That's a black crappie, the black specks down its side. Man, these fish are so finicky and hard to make bite. There's one, he's got it. That's a better one. Let's see. I forgot. Come here. Running around all over the place. That's a good crappie. All right. In you come, buddy. Well, let me explain what I'm having to do here to catch fish. It's really a fishing story. Just another good 11, maybe 12-inch crappie, something like that. So I came out here yesterday to do a little scouting and started finding brush piles, and they were loaded with crappie. And I could pitch in there and catch some little bitty ones like 4 to 6 inch crappie, but I couldn't catch any good ones. And I was using all my good crappie baits that I use everywhere, the ones I used to catch the 3-pounder at Grenada with, just all my normal crappie baits, and couldn't get decent crappie to bite. So I started going finesse. I put fluorocarbon leader on, real small, like 6-pound test, and I went to little tiny jigs, my little Strike King Lightning Shad jigs. Those will work when nothing else will. And I could get them to peck at it, but I just couldn't get them to bite it. So finally, I went down and bought some minnows. And I'll tell you, I will do anything I have to do to catch a fish. So I came back out today with some minnows. I tried my jigs first. They wouldn't touch them today. So all I'm doing is just taking a minnow and rigging him on a small, little light wire finesse hook, and I'm pitching it in these brush piles and letting them swim just above the brush piles. And I can literally sit here on my Lowrance Active target on my pole here. I've got it on my Fishing Specialties pole. I can point it at the brush. I can take that minnow and I can pitch it in there, and I can watch it go down on my screen, pull it across the top, and I can see crappie coming up and looking at it. but they won't just run out and eat it like they normally do a jig. So I have to literally sit here and just hold it and work it up and down and keep it right above the brush. There's another one. And they'll actually hit this live minnow when they won't hit anything else. Folks, I'll tell you, I'm not above doing whatever I have to do to catch a fish. There's even a better one. So you do what you have to do to catch fish. That's a black crappie, the black specks down his side. But hey, numbers are here. Come catch you 30 of these.
Let's Fish TV is proudly backed by Mercury. Go boldly. Lowrance, America's #1 fish finder. Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, Alabama. Get our free fishing guide at orangebeach.com. Motor Guides Tour Pro with GPS anchor. The tour is back. Blazer, high-performance boats for high-performance anglers.
If you drew a piece of art of a crappie, that's what one would look like. What a perfect fish. Got him. Wow. That is so light of a bite. It's a good fish too. I'm gonna slip the net under that fish. Get in my net. Yeah, there we go. There's your Bay Springs specimen right there. Welcome back, everybody. We're on Bay Springs Lake, and I am tearing the camera woman's camera up. We're on Bay Springs Lake in Mississippi today, having a great time catching some crappie. And let me tell you something. We've been talking about this whole finesse thing and how finicky these fish can be. God, what a beautiful fish. Good grief, look at that. It's just a specimen there. If you drew a piece of art of a crappie, that's what one would look like. What a perfect fish. That's 13, 14 inch fish right there. That will go 1.25 pounds, maybe something like that. Close to 1.5 pounds. Good fish. All right, back he goes. Let me tell you, when you go fishing, if you'll pay attention, you learn something every time. So these fish are biting so gently, and they're so finicky that when they bite it, when you first feel something, if you pop it, if you jerk and set the hook, you're gonna lose the fish every time. I've lost a bunch of them setting the hook too quick and too hard. What I'm literally having to do today, and they can be like this, learn this, is if they're biting so gentle, then what you want to do is when you first feel that little bump on your rod tip, let them kind of take it just for a second and lift gently. Just take up the slack and lift that rod tip up like that. Let them pull it back down and then pull back a little harder. If you pop it immediately when they bite it, all they're doing is kind of mouthing it when they're this finicky, and you'll pull it away from them. So what I'm learning to do is just gently pull up on that rod and let it bow, and then go ahead and set the hook. That's the way you can catch more of these fish. That's a good one right there. That's a good Bay Springs specimen. Come to Bay Springs, folks. Catch yourself a big old mess of crappie. You can keep 30 of them. Put the fillet knife to them and have a big fish fry. Got one. That's not going to be a crappie. He is taking line. Let's see what else Bay Springs has got in it besides crappie. That's what we're about to find out. Could be a spotted bass. Could be a catfish. A white bass. Wow. So that's what else we got in Bay Springs. Big old white bass too. That big dude. Wow. There we go. Well, come to Bay Springs and you're gonna get bit by something. You don't know what it's gonna be. It might be a big spotted bass, one of the bigger ones you've caught. Might be a big old largemouth. There's some 10 and 12 pound largemouths that swim around in here. And could be a catfish, Could be a big old crappie. Lots of chances to get bit in here. Our special thanks again to Ricky and Andy Houston for helping us out, and to Larry Pugh with the Fisheries Department for helping get us oriented to this place, getting us familiar with it. But it's just a beautiful place, kind of an oasis over here in this part of Mississippi. Beautiful lake sitting over here. And by the way, there's about, I don't know, 4 or 5 good pools of water below this one that you can also catch crappie and bass and other species in as well. They run all the way to Alabama, one right after the next, and they're all good fisheries, good pools of water to be explored. Come to Mississippi, people. We'll give you all the information, the Mississippi website, where you can get lots of travel information for the state.
Watch our latest episode or catch up on past episodes on our website at letsfishtv.com. Be sure to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter for new fishing videos every day. And download the free Waypoint TV app to get all the latest episodes every week on your phone, tablet, computer, or smart TV. Let's Fish TV is proudly backed by Academy Sports and Outdoors, making it easier than ever to gear up and have fun out there. Power Pole, total boat control. Visit Mississippi, good times are close by. Low Boats, 50 years of boating craftsmanship. Balls Out, made in the USA, heavy-duty mounts for your fish finders.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's get right to your Ask the Pro question for this week. Casey wants to know, when arriving at a new lake, what are the first things that you do to try and find the fish? To get the answer, we checked with Bassmaster Elite Angler Paul Mueller.
Okay, so if I've been to a lake blind, not looking at it on Google Earth or any of that stuff, obviously you want to know the water clarity, how deep the water is. You know, obviously, depending on the part of the country that you're in, you're going to kind of know what kind of forage is going to be in that body of water. And then the structure in the cover is very relevant, as well as the time of year. That's going to dictate where those fish are going to be. So,
thank you, Paul. If you want some help from one of the pros too, simply go to letsfishtv.com. Follow the Ask the Pro link to submit a question. Now it's time to find out who wins this week's Big Catch of the Week.
We've made it back to the dock at Bay Springs Lake in Mississippi, and it's time right now for this week's winner in the Big Catch of the Week contest. He's Brad Wilson of Azle, Texas, with a 9-pound largemouth bass he caught at Eagle Mountain Lake in Texas.
Here's today's Right Stuff, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Next up on the Academy Right Stuff, it's the right gear if you want to catch finesse crappie like we did on this week's show, and it begins with the Lew's Wally Marshall Pro Target Crappie Rod. This is a 7-foot medium light action rod. Now I had my reel spooled up with Strike King Tour Grade braided line in the high-vis yellow color, but here's the real key. I had it tied with a uni to uni knot to some Strike King Tour Grade fluorocarbon line. That's basically zero visibility in water. Had 6-pound test, and that was the real key to getting these bites. And then my bait setup was a little split shot, about 18 inches below that, a small bait hook with a minnow on it, and that's what caught these crappie. Chances are you have a lot of relationships in your life, probably more even than you think. Parents, kids, neighbors, friends, co-workers, and believe it or not, those relationships can get messy, and when that happens, life can get really hard. So give this a try. Pick just one of those relationships and do something now to make it better. Have coffee, go to lunch, go fishing, because that time invested will really pay big dividends when the going gets tough in your life. Why? Because it won't be your Facebook friends, your Twitter friends, or your Instagram followers who will come to your aid and be there for you. It's those real face-to-face relationships that matter most. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode from Bay Springs Lake in northeastern Mississippi. We had a blast here, and if you'd like to come here or travel anywhere in the state of Mississippi, you can get lots of travel information at the Visit Mississippi website, the address you see on your screen. Until next week, I'm Barry Stokes saying let's fish, everybody. Be safe, have fun. Bye-bye, y'all.